Hello, welcome to another time of class. Today we're going to be doing the introduction to 1 Timothy. I will do another video and address some verses within 1 Timothy that I want to put special emphasis on. But for this video, it is just the introduction of that 1 Timothy. So, and bear with me if I have to get a drink. So 1 Timothy, this is Paul's guide to godliness and sound teaching for the young pastor Timothy at Ephesus. Background. 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus are commonly known as the pastoral epistles. These are letters written by Paul to Timothy and Titus on how to handle the church. To Timothy, who was in Ephesus, and to Titus, who was in Crete, far as the pastoral epistles. These letters address the pastoral care of the church. How do we do church? Some critics have questioned whether Paul actually wrote these letters, but the early church firmly accepted them as authentic works of Paul. While there are noticeable differences in style and vocabulary between the pastoral epistles and Paul's letters, these variations can be reasonably attributed to Paul's advanced age and his personal concerns for the ministry of Timothy and Titus. And the purpose. Paul had three main purposes for writing 1 Timothy. 1, to encourage Timothy in both his ministry and personal life. 2, to urge Timothy to protect the purity of the gospel and uphold its standard of godliness against corruption by false teachers. 3, to provide Timothy with instructions regarding various church matters and issues in Ephesus. Survey. One of Paul's main concerns, which he communicates to his younger assistant Timothy, is that Timothy earnestly contend for the faith and refutes the false teachings that dilute the saving power of the gospel. Chapter 1, 3 through 7, chapter 4, 1 through 8, 6, 3 through 5, 6, 20 through 21. Paul also instructs Timothy on the spiritual and character qualifications necessary for church leaders, providing a clear picture of the type of individuals who are allowed to become spiritual leaders within the church. And any church of today who does not adhere to these guidelines, I don't believe are walking in what God would have them to walk in. It's very important that we use these pastoral epistles to choose who is eligible to work in the church, to become a pastor, to lead others. That's why it's here. Additionally, Paul guides Timothy on how to interact with various groups in the church, including women, chapter 2, 9 through 15, widows, 5, 3 through 16, older and younger men, 5, 1, elders, chapter 5, 17 through 25, slaves, chapter 6, 1 through 2, false teachers, 6, 3 through 10, and the rich, 6, 17 through 19. He gives Timothy 5 specific instructions to follow. The verses that correspond with that is chapter 1, 18 through 20, chapter 3, 14 through 16, chapter 4, 11 through 16, chapter 5, 21 through 25, chapter 6, 20 through 21. Throughout the letter, Paul expresses his affection for Timothy as both his convert and a son in the faith while setting a high standard of godliness for both Timothy's life and the church. Special features. This letter is characterized by 4 major features. Number 1, it is addressed directly to Timothy, who serves as Paul's representative to the church of Ephesus. The tone is very personal and conveys deep emotion and feeling. Number 2, along with 2 Timothy, this letter emphasizes more than any other New Testament letter the pastoral responsibilities of preserving the gospel's purity and protecting it from false teachings that could diminish its saving power, which is very important for any church, even of today. Chapter 3, it highlights the supreme value of the gospel, the demonic forces that seek to corrupt it, the church's sacred calling, and the high qualifications that God requires for its leaders. Number 4, additionally, it offers the most detailed guidance in the New Testament on how a pastor should appropriately relate to both genders and to individuals of all ages and social groups within the church. That introduction was short and sweet. We will go on to specific verses in the next video.